Haley Davies is on the couch. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Very excited to have you here. I got to admit, you're a good follow. So everybody fire up your Instagrams and shoot her a follow because you're always doing stuff.
Don't you feel like you didn't see her one day and then all of a sudden you saw her every day?
I mean, in my head, I'm blaming it
really-
on the follow. Like, I followed
The
her, and that's why.
algorithm was like, look at Haley. She's everywhere.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
I'm seeing her. She's at sporting events. She's at the UFC fight. Her tits are out, etc. She's just,
Did that? I
did
forgot.
that.
she's living large. I'm
that.
very appreciative of it. Yeah.
I flashed the whole UFC.
Yeah.
So you're not allowed to go back, right?
Or was that was Cap, right?
She's like, I'm not going to talk about this.
I mean, it's not like they saw it, right?
To UFC. No.
No, you were just kind of exaggerating for
Yeah.
effect. Yeah.
I was definitely.
Standard
Okay.
Yeah.
OnlyFans stuff.
Hey.
Anyway,
Yes,
a good story.
Right?
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your upbringing, where you're from, and everything.
So I'm from New Zealand originally. Grew up there. Moved to Australia like 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of like came running home homesick because I had just graduated in software development. And then I like couldn't get a job that I wanted. So I was like, oh, I'm going home. I got my boobs done.
So
I was
that's why you went to Australia from New Zealand, though, is because you wanted to work in software development?
I just wanted to like new start, big country, big IT market there. Just more fun, you know. Like New Zealand's small. It's
Right.
boring. And then I went back and then I moved back to Australia again. But yeah, I grew up in like a small town in New Zealand. And small to like like I'm talking small because people think even Melbourne, the city which has like 5 million population or something, they think that's small. I'm talking like New Zealand, the whole country population is like 5 million.
Really? I
Yeah,
didn't
that's
know
very
that.
few people.
It's small. And then I was in a small town in New Zealand.
So when you think about your younger days, was there any sign that you might get into porn, or is this kind of like a late development in life?
Not porn. Like I would say, because I was in a small town, like I lost my virginity really young at like 13. And then by 15, my body count was like 40 or 50.
By 15?
And all the guys were like 5 to 10 years older.
Oh my God, that's some small town shit right there.
It's some small town shit.
Yeah.
Wait, so like everyone at your high school or what? Because you're telling me small town. You didn't have a lot of people to pick from.
No, I would go for like older guys that were already at like university and so like I lost my virginity to my cheerleading coach's son. I was 13, he was 17. And then by like 16, I was sleeping with like 24-year-olds.
And were you telling them, or and they just didn't care? Well, is that legal there?
16 is the legal. Under 16, if you're under 16 and you're sleeping with someone over 16, it's technically statutory rape
Okay.
because you can't like legally consent.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
And-
okay, so you were just very sexually active, very trying to find out what was out there.
Not using protection.
Oh wow.
Like I was on contraception. I was just getting like cream pies. Like,
Oh my God.
because I moved out of home at like 14. So I was kind of just doing my own thing. I had my own place at 15.
Wait, what?
Why? From what?
Because I had like a bad upbringing with my parents. Like,
really?
yeah.
So you
So
just
my-
left and did you get a
Yeah.
job and stuff?
Yeah, I had a job. So by 15, I was working like 60 hours a week, like
Really?
at this bar. Like I was like the manager. I was like opening. It was
You could be the
illegal.
manager
yeah.
of a bar
At
at
15,
14,
right?
15?
Fucked up.
Wow.
Fucked up. And then when they let me go, because I like went after them because they just like eventually hired all these new people, so I didn't have as much work. So then I took them to like employment mediation and got money out of them because I was like, fuck you. And I was like, well, you were letting me illegally work here, so like
Wow.
And then I
You're
got a
doing
payout.
all this that young. That's crazy. I feel
Yeah.
like that's such a life to live by that age.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So I was already like at 15, I had like my sleeve. I had like, you know, I was like driving. I was like fucking these guys. Like, wait.
It's crazy because here in Los Angeles, I don't think there's any job that you could drop out at 14 or 15 and get and actually be able to create a life for yourself, like get an
And live on your
apartment
own,
and
yeah.
a car and stuff, because the cost of living is so high out here that even if
Yeah.
you wanted to live in like the worst part of LA, I don't think you could pull it off on like a minimum wage
You
type
need someone to
gig.
like let you live with them for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't really
So,
work.
but I was working 2 jobs. I was working at a cafe as well.
Okay.
So I
Wow.
was always hustling.
You were a hustler. All right.
And you were still going to school?
I was meant to be because legally you have to school till you're 16. So I was homeschooling, but I wasn't doing it. Yeah.
You were
I have
over
so
it.
many questions. Okay.
Okay, but where did the software engineer thing pop into your brain when you were doing the restaurant work and whatnot?
So I had changed my mind so many times growing up. I wanted to be like an accountant. I wanted to be a vet. And then I've always loved problem solving and maths. So I was like software development, coding, it works. So when I was 17, I started studying software development and graduated from that. And then I went over to Australia. That didn't really work out too well. And then I came back and then worked in IT for a few years. And then I was like a stripper on the side and I kept it so low key. I would be like, anyone that knew, I'd be like, oh my God, like don't tell anyone. I'd be so scared.
And that worked for a few years?
It did because I had IT jobs and I was like, if they find out, like I'm done. I would be so scared. And I also, my dream job was to be a cop. So I had applied multiple times to be a cop, but because of the stuff that like happened with my parents growing up and like police being involved, like that would knock me back.
Really?
Yeah.
So you can't be a cop if you had problems with your parents when you were a teenager? That sounds kind of
Something like
wild.
that. And like because of like depression, if you have a record of being depressed and
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think we hold our
Yeah,
cops
I
to
feel
that
like that's
standard.
like
Really? Oh yeah. If you've been on like antidepressants even like years before, they're like
Do the cops not have I feel like in America they have kind of like a bad reputation, at least with a lot of people, especially young people.
yeah, they have a pretty good rep.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not so, like when I find out some corrupt stuff that they've done, I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? Because everything's pretty like legit. Like they don't really use guns.
See, that's funny because here in America, the cop could do like the worst thing ever, and none of us would really
Oh
be that
my
surprised.
god! And if they did
Yeah.
that, it would be all over the news for months.
Yeah. The threshold, you have to like really kill somebody out in public in order for us to really pay attention to what the cops are doing. It's kind of bad.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No, like
You as a cop, I'm trying to picture it right now with her sitting in front of me like this.
Yeah. You can whoop me around with that nightstick any day.